workshop here. We'll also have people joining in virtually as well, so we'll kind of wave to them, but otherwise I will let Steph and Mike take it off. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So yeah, as they said, we're both like two lead designers, like Vendasta. We basically help run workshops, help teams solve problems. We both also mentor startups. So we both work through like collabs, basically part of a startup, prior to going back to Vendasta. So we have a big passion for this, just this whole environment, and we want to see it grow. So thanks for having us here today, guys. We appreciate it. It's going to be a hands-on hour and a half. So ready to start thinking like creatively. We're going to do sticky notes. We're going to get our juices flowing today. But to sort of get things going, give a bit of a small background here. If this thing works or not. To go, right? Can someone click the next button, please?
You can probably.
It might work. So yeah, I said before, we really help with Vendasta. We really solve the biggest challenges that are possible. Even we help create new products and improve the existing ones. So questions that things that we sort of see at different companies that we work with or work at. How have you guys experienced these things? Does your team you work on or teams you work with have pressure to really impact the business goals and metrics and like come up with really good ideas? You're like, where do I start? How do I like these ideas, but where do we even start? And so almost always like the hardest point. Again, this happens. I've seen this happen a lot, even at Vendasta. Sometimes it happens. Planning is fun, and we always want to add more things, and slowly scope creep happens, right? Making project too big to tackle, and then giving the first like deliverable to the customer just takes too much time. Again, which also results in product cycles can run too long, and the team starts to lose the focus of actual goal is. So actually, like in reality, this is typical, right? We get like an idea, we plan, we have an idea, we want to build it, we want to launch it, and we want to sort of get some data to see how it's going, right? Make sure it's like the right thing. But in reality, do you experience this? Does the build phase take longer than you first sort of like think it's going to take? The scope creep happens, right? It's part of that, you know. So you start building and building. 1 month goes by, like, oh, we're almost there. There's some tech debt you gotta tackle. But you finally launch it 2 months later, and the data says it's sort of working, but not the way you first thought. So, is there a way to bypass that all? To not have the build phase happen and just have an idea and just learn from it. So typically what we do at Vendasta is sort of go down the idea of the design sprint. We don't have that much time today to do a 4-day like workshop. We'd love to do that with you guys to go on that adventure with the one big problem. But we have an hour and a half. So we actually have a different smaller session that's going to have the same like principles that we do in like a design sprint, but packed into like an hour and a half of workshop. So Stephanie will take it away from here to sort of explain the workshop.
Okay, so the workshop we're going to do today is called a lightning decision jam. So it's a creative problem solving loop to quickly test new ideas. So we're going to try and come up with a bunch of ideas, vote on them, prioritize them, learn from them, and keep iterating through this loop. So our goal here is to uncover problems, prioritize the most important ones, come up with a bunch of different ideas, prioritize them, and then finally create an action plan. So, Beautiful Mood is the app we're going to be trying to improve. So Roshana is the founder. Give a wave.
Thanks for being the test with us today.
This should be exciting. So what we're going to do to kick it off here is we're all going to break into groups of 3 or 4 people. So find a group, and then in your group, one of you is going to download the Beautiful Mood app. So if you already have the app, try and get someone else to do it. So that we're going to do a new user experience audit. And then what you're going to do in your groups is clicker actually work, or are you just?
This
Oh
is-
wow, I should just be saying.
It's like, control button.
So placebo. Okay, so we're gonna be following the double diamond process here. So you go from your initial insight. So our insight here is just that we know we want to improve the user experience of this app. It could be as simple as that. So we're gonna do to discover, so build all the knowledge to understand how we might improve the user experience. And then we're going to take all those problems and then focus it down to one problem we think is the most important to solve. And then once we have that one problem, we're going to figure out how we want to solve that problem, and then finally pick the one best solution, and then figure out the details of how that solution will work and how we're going to measure testing it if it's actually successful. So click. Okay, so then this is how the rest of the session is going to go. The workshop portion. So each exercise is 15 minutes long, except for the deliver there. So the first one we're going to do is this new user experience audit. So break into your groups of 3 or 4 and get one person to download the app. And then that one person is going to narrate what they're seeing, what they're thinking, and what they think they need to do next as they're going through.
All right, so guys, yeah, let's pick up it could be each like a row, it could be who you guys want to go with. But groups of at least 4. I think it's 15 of us here now, so maybe 5, even 3 rows of 18 would be nice.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with, you have to be close enough that you can all see the screen of someone's phone. And then grab some sticky notes from the middle, and then any problems you identify, write them on a sticky note. And write down problems only, no coming up with like solutions.
Guess we found everything to work together.
Okay, and I'm gonna start our 15-minute timer here.
Executive session. That's not very. The Wi-Fi password back there.
And for the remote people, Harrison is going to be monitoring the chat and stuff. So then any ideas you have, you can tell him, and then he'll write them on sticky notes.
So all new things are today on this app. Perfect. Yeah. So basically, as we download it, you install it. So as you get set up on the app, just talk through experiencing questions you have about things, set on, or like parts that are interesting. Like, hey, I love one example, or oh, I didn't know where to go on this next. But take 5 to 10 minutes to sort of get set up. So we just all the insights, all the insights, questions you have. I hope you guys can see this. First screen here is enter in.
Virtual guests, are you there?
So you tell me those things too, are the good parts too. All together about So like basically it's an app to track your mood, you can journal on it, you can track habits or
Let's see.
You can also document like what's your understanding of what the app is.
Virtual homies, are you there? Got Jory, Kyle Smith, Patrick Ulrich.
Awesome.
Is anybody there? Oh,
Patrick's there.
Patrick, how's it going?
Where's Chloe?
Patrick, would you want to turn on your mic or your video? And then we've got Steph here, one of the session co-leaders. Sounds good. Sounds good. Looks like
Yeah, so for the remote people, what would be best is if you just went through the app on your own and took any notes of things you found confusing or what your initial understanding of what the app is.
Oh, it's awesome. Do you have any questions from the remote virtual guests?
Cool. Yeah, I'll take a look at the app just here.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
And we got you coming through on the audio on our end. So if you have any questions, comments, things like that, we'll pick up on it and get you involved.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's good, Jory. Right. Well, Let's ask them. Hey, online folks, do we have any questions?
Nope, I've got the app downloaded. I'm just going through it right now.
Awesome. Just one thing that I've been telling the groups to think about is as you're pressing different buttons, before you press on them, think about what do you expect to happen on those different screens. Like just as an example, when I selected a mood that was angry, I expected the happy face scale to not be happy faces because angry is a negative mood. So just like what do you expect to happen? Like is the stuff on Pro what you expected? Is the upgrade path the way you expected, and stuff like that.
Okay, thanks. Is that Stephanie Dilsner?
Is this Jory Cooper?
It is. Long time.
I was like, I don't know very many people named Jory. I wonder if the Jory I know. Jory and I went to elementary school together.
Oh, there you go. Major throwback.
I still remember the grade 5 science project or something. It was with rainbows. I remember going over to your house and having a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was lots of fun. Memories of it too. We went skidooing and stuff.
Oh, it was lots of fun. I remember, yeah, your dad set up like a movie in the living room with like a giant screen. It was awesome. I'd never seen anything like that. Cool. Nice to hear you.
Yeah, it's so cool that you're in this. Oh, we should catch up sometime.
Sure.
I didn't even know you were involved in the startup world.
Yeah, I just joined a company in collabs just recently here. This is my 3rd week. I joined Cadence, yeah. So I've kind of been in the startup world, but working at Viamo, they weren't really a part of the community, it didn't seem.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm on the collab expert program as one of their designers.
Oh, cool.
So I'll probably see you around. Very cool.
For sure. Cool. Yeah, see you around.
I'll let you get back to it.
Thanks.
That's so cool.
I apologize for the, I don't know why it's not working.
Two-minute warning. 2-minute warning.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, so the habits.
That's what I did. So like the mood is the cool forest. That's the sort of habit.
Yeah.
Hopefully they should have more words. So Diegle's will be Great. Let's wrap up, guys. Well, one person from each group, so that would be the rep. Just sort of bring up their sticky note items. We have whiteboards here. If they're pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
You still want to do that?
Yeah, I'll send.
Okay. Action statement. Okay, everyone, back up here. Okay, so the next part here. You guys ready? Okay, so this first part here, what we're gonna do is take your ideas, and Michael wrote the different categories of the stages of the user experience on here. So your process, downloading the app, entering the username, selecting the theme, entering the mood, template viewing, calendar viewing, and then reports and settings. So, and then we might want to put other at the end, maybe.
Probably use the general one.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is have one representative from each group come up here and put your sticky notes in each section. Since there's so many of you, what we're gonna do is the other groups watch for the ones that the groups that went before you put up, and then only present the ones that are actually new stickies that you have that weren't things that the groups before you found. Make sense?
Who's your reference?
Yeah, and then just like say to the group what, yeah. And then Harrison will bring up the ones for the virtual.
Yeah, the virtual ones.
Yeah, I think Harrison's got one. Okay. I'm gonna set a timer for this section too.
When you ask them virtual homies, do you want to just like speak to the screen right here?
So one is.
Sure, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little hard to read some parts of the screen, a little small, and I'll get into it. Premium details need to search a little bit. This is selecting the theme, this premium portion. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, and then make sure you, read them out loud so that everyone can hear, since it's a big group. So far we have under selecting a theme, details of premium need to search a bit. And then in other here we have needed to lean closer to screen to read the tips top up. So the font size.
Like inconsistent photo locations, so some of it was at the bottom of the screen, some was in the center.
Not standard.
Yeah,
photos.
so like just inconsistent modal UI, it's great.
So we were just unclear what the theme was for.
Unclear what the theme was for, that's a really good one.
Setting screen to be more standard or closer to a standard IO, like OS setting screen.
Nice. Setting screen look overwhelming.
Somebody wants to have some moments from our virtual office.
Setting ambiguous, a lot of settings. Okay. From premium, it
Ah,
came back
yes,
twice. It's like can't get back to the main screen.
So we were expecting an onboarding how-to, where'd that go?
Oh, I'm holding it a similar note.
Oh,
Sure, it could be more doing rather than telling.
I would do this like between these two, like sort of like into the mood, is like the own clean upload.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, they expected a visual of your calendar once the task was added.
Are you ready?
Perspective.
that a setting? Like,
I guess that would jump other,
Get on
all
Is it on the calendar? Yeah.
I think so, yes.
It's on the calendar.
So more visual activity selection. Right now, it's like
That one's hard to demonstrate without a fun. We just said, when we open up the menu, was it expected?
Oh, the other. Well, do you guys, yeah, come up here, bring your sticky notes. So this is the ones from the online. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we should.
So most of the image is the settings page.
Yeah.
Also, we'll give us some notes afterwards. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we're not saying that we put all of them up. Yeah. This room is hard to read to everyone.
perfect.
All right. So this was on the username. Yeah. So this was this one. And the language was really close to the field or whatever, so I thought it was a little confusing. We also, on this first screen, we disallowed notifications.
Oh, no.
Which comes back to bite you.
Ah.
Just everything was really spaced out on this
Okay.
screen. If the keyboard is dismissed, the
So the first one still?
yeah, like enter username, you can just like hide the keyboard, and then the CTA button is like a small arrow at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And then
That was that one's more.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then we'll put these ones up. Okay, so remote people, we have ask for notifications right away with no understanding of why I should.
That's this one right here, it's loud. This is a common one now.
Yeah, pick a theme, don't understand the smiley faces. It's kind of in between these two. No easy way to get back to default color scheme. So this, had to manually capitalize name. Ask for name right away without understanding why. Okay, and hard to enable notifications after disabling at the start.
Yeah, a couple about that. So we have
Yeah.
a couple of themes sort of formalized when you're ready. That's nice, guys, for your feedback. So I'll go through them right now quickly, some of the major themes that we're seeing here. One is off the bat is sort of hard within the language, the text and the input, hard to sort of the first username screen to sort of like decipher. Also, when they pop up saying, do you want to allow to get that like notified? We're saying like dismiss off the bat.
So as Michael is going through this, each team gets 3 votes on what you think the top 3 biggest problems are to solve. And then what we'll do is the one idea that has the most votes, that's what we'll pick to go into the second half of the diamond for and like do some investigation into different ideas. So vote on something that you think is like something worth looking into further, like things like make the font size bigger, that there's not that much brainstorming we can do on how you can make the font size bigger, you know?
So other ones we're seeing is around the select theme portion. It wasn't quite sure what the theme was for at this point, like in the app. Also clarity between the free versions and the premium versions. At first, you may have not known if that one was paid or not. quick to get back, was the harder on. They also expected, like, someone expected to be like have a little onboarding walkthrough after they did the first little move, enter the move. Calendar, they expected more visuals for tasks and like the utilities that they entered in there, just more so for the moods. Settings, a couple of like very common ones here are all saying as settings are a bit much there. There's a lot happening on the screen, a little bit like overwhelmed with the settings page. So it's sort of like all saying the exact same thing around that one. Yes, small text was a couple ones here saying it was hard. I lean closer to read things. Inconsistent modal like location, so the UI wasn't standard across every area. What about the navigation sort of changes on different screens as well? It's not really standardized or stuck at the bottom. Tips help guys. Some good things too. They like the tips. They saw. Yeah, that you don't expect it. So that's most of it right there. So basically, we're gonna do, guys, have 3 dots for a team. So have 1 rep for each team. You can apply 1 dot per card or 3 in 1 card. Whatever you guys feel is the problem you'd want to solve first. So that's the next step. We'll just sort of like, we're gonna crowdsource some documents.
Yeah, so discuss with your groups, remote people, discuss in the chat, and pick someone to tell us what your top 3 are, and put dots beside those cards.
Yeah, guys, go to the front, you can just hear yourselves. Grab a marker and just put some dots like I think that's where light is on great. Oh yeah, we should add our 3 dots.
Add our 3 dots?
We'll get through the line. Like this one.
And you can also put all your dots on one thing too. Feel very passionate on one thing. I don't understand the smiley face.
It just hits you. Yeah. Don't let our dots change your mind.
I'm just communicating our team. The more boring ones, for like on settings.
There's like the onboarding one. Saw that.
Settings. Maybe be closer to the default OS settings. That's not as exciting.
Yeah.
Interesting, I like that. Like this is good. It's different, but it's always surprising what people happens.
Remote people, do you guys have a top one you want votes on?
You can just type in there and we'll put a dot beside it.
Yeah, type it in the chat.
That's like, yeah, we were like, wow, the onboarding flow, the settings, and I think the menu slash navigation.
There's 2 big ones jumping out. Good. More visual. Yeah. Connor, why'd you dump that way? I'll tell.
Like, I thought of all of these things basically in my head.
Awesome. So basically, thanks guys for downloading a couple things, pull all the ones off unless people online have a last couple dots they want to add.
Let's just grab a picture quick so that Shannon has a picture. Nice. I'd rather keep them categorized. for you.
Documentation is important. We gotta document.
Okay.
Cool. So what happens here, guys? We basically keep all the ones with dots on it. We keep the rest. We just toss away. It sounds like ruthless, but otherwise you get lost in the scope creep, right? It happens. Like I could do all these things. Well, you could, but it adds so much more time. What are the ones we're just gonna toss away?
Okay, so we're in the define phase. So the voting was part of that. And now we're gonna pick one idea that has the most votes. So we have ask for notifications right away with no clear understanding of why I should enable notifications. Details of premium, it needs to search a bit. Wasn't sure what the themes are for. The settings screen looked overwhelming. Onboarding walkthrough / how-to. Picking a theme, don't understand the smiley faces. So we're sorting these by how many dots they have. So our two that have the most dots are settings screen looked overwhelming and onboarding walkthrough how-to.
So of these top two, we have to choose one. So of these top two.
So your team gets one vote on one of these two because they're tied. So typically in a workshop, you dedicate someone to be the facilitator and then they have like veto power on ties.
Well, when like Rohanna, would you want to be the one that sides?
We could do that.
So the top two, again, they want the onboarding walkthrough, how to flow, or is the setting page to make that a bit more understandable? Which one would you want to dive down?
Definitely the onboarding walkthrough, like the settings, I can do that. It's just annoying work.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So, so what we're gonna do next is, I feel like this whiteboard is not actually readable for the remote people, and we should just move it to the side so you can see the slides. Okay, so now we're going into the second half of this document, which is the develop phase. So, coming up with solutions for how to make the onboarding better. So each person, you should grab a sticky note pad or like split some in half, and you're gonna write down as many ideas on sticky notes as you can. So you can draw ideas, you can write in words ideas, and I'm gonna set a timer, and you have, so everyone got sticky notes before I set the timer?
Sketches are encouraged. If you want to sketch some ideas out, we should maybe use a paper, but if not, we can just do like ideas on those sticky notes.
Okay, and we're gonna do 5 sound good?
5 minutes?
Yeah. Like that. Okay, we're gonna do 5 minutes to come up with as many ideas as you can, like be crazy. You can do like a carrier pigeon brings you a manual of how to use the app. Like the more crazy, the more like variety and how you're pushing yourself out of your just typical onboarding
At
ideas.
this point, nothing's bad, guys.
Yeah.
Every idea you have is something that we can like consider, right? So to spend the next 5 minutes, we're gonna come up with crowdsource different ideas, make onboarding, walkthrough.
Okay, so everyone's silently coming up with ideas, and remote people, you can take pictures or just, I guess you probably want to do written ideas in the chat. Okay, on your marks, get set, go. Yeah, so for the remote, just come up with the ideas like silently to yourself, and then as a group afterwards, then you can just put forward like your top 3 ideas when we get to the next section. No one needs to see your crazy brainstorming right now. It's just for you. Oh, and you guys voted for onboard walkthrough, which is perfect because we picked it anyways. I didn't see that. Good, good.
I was like a little bit. Yeah.
Should we do some ideas ourselves or?
Yeah.
Yeah, your ideas can be like slight variations of other ideas. Just push yourself to come up with as many as possible. And then you'll share your ideas afterwards. Okay, awesome. Sorry to like you guys should probably have like 20 ideas for your group.
I don't know, no pressure.
Okay, 2 minutes left. I told them to just try to find themselves and then they can share the ideas with each other. Afterwards. One minute left. Try and come up with like 5 more ideas in this last minute. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Great. again, well, this time we'll actually have you guys present your ideas. So we want you guys to choose, if you have more than 3, we want you to only present 3.
Yeah, so share your ideas with your group and pick your top 3 ideas that you want to put on the board to represent your group.
Just be critical of it, because this is where you're gonna leave yourself, size, and prioritize for the minutes.
Yeah, I know, like. Trying to crack. Better, but try it like how specifically would you gamify? So, and you guys can come up with further ideas. So we do want like really tangible things like in your percent, like this is exactly what I'm gonna go about.
Yes, well, I have a follow-up note to like, just like points for ways to check off tasks.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Check.
Yeah. The moment I wrote gamify down, I'm like, nobody's gonna know what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, you try to, yeah, but it sounds like you have that one to yeah. Okay, so I do like
Virtual folks, do you have anything to add that you want onto the board at all?
They don't necessarily have to go. Okay, pick 2 minutes to pick your top 3. 2 minutes.
Sorry, we're putting all the pressure.
some detailed code for ad access.
That's great. Yes. Things I would have never even watched. I'm like, that sounds great. And then I think about how long it's gonna take to do it.
I don't know how long it works onboard, so if you like.
What else do we have?
show,
Sorry, I feel like we need to expand.
Again, I also wrote this for myself.
Okay, one minute left.
Cool. We'll take those trips.
Okay. Yeah, 3 seconds. Okay, pick one person that's gonna bring your ideas up and present them.
Who wants to start? Who wants to give their ideas first?
I'll do it.
Okay, awesome. So talk loudly so that the whole room can hear.
Am I standing up there?
Sure,
Yeah,
stand up here and then put them on the board.
Yes, I think.
Okay, we're getting started here.
All right, guys, quiet for Logan.
The first thing we did is for the tips, rather than having them explain what they want you to do, have them actually complete the action. So if they press the plus menu in the corner, you do that to dismiss the tip. So more doing and less telling. The next one is have a pre-made calendar with the moves already in it to use as a demo to show users this is how an ideal scenario would go. And here is what you're building towards. And then the last one would be to gamify or sort of create a checklist of onboarding tasks. Like do these things and then you can check them off your list. Up here.
Yeah. Here it is. Awesome. Set up this below. Checklist with completion, pre-made to the demo environment.
So this is us now getting into the deliver phase here where we're picking those top 3. And the next thing we're gonna do is put these on an effort impact grid. See what's the most impactful, lowest effort for Roshanna to test.
Awesome. Next group who wants to present.
Okay, so we identified 3 solutions. So the first one was to select a default theme when the user comes in, kind of like showing value earlier in the process. So the first one. The second one was kind of a cool solution, like having like a talking avatar, like kind of like Clippy, kind of cliche, but like obviously built for this app that walks the user through the app and like also like creates a connection to the user with a real person. It's kind of a personal app. The third one was on the onboarding flow, make the user do a personality test or enter their Myers-Briggs stuff. And then it builds like a theme around, it builds them a theme and kind of like personalizes the experience for your personality.
What if you did on that, instead of like jamming that, what if you did a little personality test and that will derive the themes you might want to select? Right?
Or the personality of your floating move.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Come up there and thanks, guys. Last team.
You have like 20. 3? Okay. Yeah, similar note, I think like highlighting the buttons and like having an explanation. It's kind of like, hey, this is where you would go to do this. This is kind of that, and kind of guiding flows within that. Show examples of screens after a few days of use. I think like just showing, hey, this is like what this theme would kind of look like after the fact. And on a kind of similar note, explain the daily user flow with like an animation, like what does it look like to contribute, and then what does the end result kind of go, just so they can understand the true value and really get committed to it. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks, guys. Couple like, so tips one highlights are very similar. Those
So-
are together.
So what we're gonna do next year is, we're Shannon, you're probably the best person to measure the effort of building these. And then as a
Can we
group,
drop one of these first? We should drop one down the last, or it's just not as funny.
I think this isn't too bad. And then as a group, we'll have to judge what we think the impact is. So we're gonna draw an effort impact grid, and then I'm just gonna move the sticky note. You guys are gonna tell me where to place it. So. So what do you guys think the impact is that we're trying to have by working on onboarding?
Customer satisfaction, I think them understanding what the process is and why.
Retention.
Retention, yeah.
Yeah, more for you.
As a new user signing up, what do you think you need to know about the premium subscription in your first session? Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, lots of different ways we could measure the impact. Typically, you pick like one metric that you want to move, but I think here it's really like they come in, understand the value of the app, and stay with it. Kind of sums up a lot of what you guys have said. Okay, so a checklist of onboarding tasks. So,
Just in Canada would know, we also, I guess in this room, is there any developers? Awesome. Okay. So effort, we know things take time and effort to build. So see more of you guys.
so effort, really low effort. Tell me when to stop.
Fairly low effort.
Really low, like.
Checklist.
Okay, how impactful do you guys think a checklist would be? Low
This is just
impact,
like
and this is really.
low, okay, high. Medium.
Medium, so put it like in the middle?
Yeah.
So low effort, medium impact. Okay, next one here, onboarding walkthrough. Oh no, wait, that was the overall category, sorry. Okay, this personality test to base the theme off of like the Myers-Briggs base themes. Okay, effort. Okay, impact. How impactful do you guys think this would be? Pretty high.
Right, so we're over here.
Okay. Okay, next one, person, so like our Clippy takes them through the app to create actions. Oh, yeah, so like relatable, Clippy, mood cloud, talking to you kind of thing. So effort. High effort. Do you use high of effort as the Myers-Briggs thing, or more effort?
Just artificial intelligence.
Depends how you did it. Call it the same.
It's the same. Okay, impact. Clippy. Higher or lower than the personality test? Higher. Okay.
More impact here. So this is more, so this would be a better idea, more impactful than the
Yes.
other one.
Someone said, yeah, I need to stuck it there. We can put it this way. Okay, select a default theme, then show the user there's more. So give them like a preview of what the theme would look like, and don't make them pick where to start. So effort, low, impact,
I was constantly.
Yeah. Like as high as these ones?
Say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle, somewhere around here, maybe.
It's like here. Okay, next one here is pre-made calendar and mood screen demo.
That's pretty much. what we should
Example
do.
screen after a few days of use. Okay, so let's just put this one with that one. Actually, let's take this off. Show example screens after a few days. So previewing like what the long term would look like of your picture. Do you think how do you think that compares to this one of just picking a default theme? This would be like a preview of what the calendar would look like at the end of the month.
And
I would say do
demo
those two things together. But here's the demo one and it has some.
Do you think,
What?
yeah, do you think this is as impactful or more impactful than this one? More impactful? Oh,
So
interesting.
this moves, they move this one back.
Yeah, similar effort to this other one, the
Probably a
select
little
people.
higher.
Little
but
higher?
Not terrible.
Okay, like that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Highlights of buttons with explanations. And then was this one supposed to be paired with this, Michael?
They're both tips. We see in the.
Yeah, so
actions.
tips that force an action to continue. So you know, like those tours where instead of just pressing next on it, you actually have to do the thing it's telling you to do in the UI. So doing something like that with the tip tour, where do you guys think that would go? Impact? It's high, so like in here, and then effort, medium, like here. Okay.
Last one there.
Last one, explain the daily user flow with an animation. So effort.
I don't do it.
Okay.
That impacts it.
And I mean, you could do this after like just do a screen
Yeah.
recording or something, but, and impact. Impact,
Middle, impact.
low impact or high impact?
Medium.
Okay. Okay,
Awesome. This is good, interesting to know. Typically they say if anything is in this quadrant, so high effort, low impact, you just don't do. So luckily there's nothing there. So no tossing those out. Ones that are gonna be more high effort, but also high impact, you actually might want to plan for like one of them, right? And so this wouldn't be due today. You wouldn't want to test it out today. It's gonna be like a lot of effort. You could introduce scope creep and stuff like that. It's gonna pare it down even further. But you might plan for like one of them. You know, one of them could be fun is run a quick test for their personality to show more of a theme based on their personality. But that's more like a long-term thing
Yeah.
to try out.
so typically, like you can write categories in these, so the things that are high effort, low impact, it's like don't do these things. The things that are low effort, but low impact, these are just tasks that you should do.
Just do those, yeah.
Yeah, and then the things that are high impact, low effort, these are the things you want to do right now, and then these other ones are kind of longer term projects.
So out of these, we sort of have three in this quadrant where we sort of say is we want to probably start with the first test. So out of these three, when you put dot coding on these, like there's sort of these two are the most concrete ones as in terms of impact.
Yeah, we could also just get Roshana to pick one. So the idea here is that we pick one idea in the effort and impact, and then we go and come up with an action plan as the next steps. So come up with a plan of how will we test this idea to validate in a short time frame, and ideally without needing to code anything.
So out of these two, Roshana, is select a default theme and then show the user there's more as one, or show examples of screens after a few days of use. Which one of these two would I would say is a good first thing to attempt to try out? See if there's a good impact?
I think they're fairly similar, but like just having that preset theme is like super low effort. So like I could, you say we're not coding, but like to code that would be like super easy. So it'd be really easy to test that out.
Okay. Awesome. So we can sort of combine them so it's together. Like a little
Yeah.
bit.
They would kind of go hand in hand. So you kind of like, you'd show the filled out theme and then you might go to the calendar and you maybe like show them like 1 or 2 days worth of like entries, what they look like. It would all kind of like be part of like a little demo before they even start.
So let's do the action plan on that for. We're gonna write down sort of like the exact plan you want to do and the outcome. So the first thing is, what is the outcome you want? You want to see more premium like subscriptions after a month, or do you want to see more return users after like a day or so? What's more important to you? Is it more of like I want more premium, or I want people just to start getting like a habit of adding their activities, like their moods?
I mean, probably the end goal is more premium subscriptions, but I think you get there by like helping build the habit.
Yeah.
So the goal, I guess the goal of this would be is I want to see my retention rate after a week to be higher than it is today.
Yeah.
So we don't, do you have an idea what it is today?
After a week, like,
Okay, so if we say even up to 40%, would that be considered as successful?
I would say that's pretty successful.
That'd be
That'd be
So even 10%, right? Definitely see if experiment helps you. So the idea is you could experiment, and if you can get 5, you can do it through a design model, you can do it through coding. Whatever way it's faster to learn, right? We want to reduce the build cycle and sort of just understand what's working, what's not working. So if there's ways to do that in code that's fast, that's a good deal. If not, we actually would prefer to do like a Figma or a design block and get asked the users just to try it out. So we'll start with the outcome on the action plan. We're gonna test it out. We'll do it time. We're gonna do it. Again, this is just an example of what could happen. Let's say 2 weeks. Outcome. Increase retention rate by 10+%. 7 days.
So this could be a bit of an ambitious goal, and if it doesn't hit that, then we go to a different idea from here and try that one out, or we look at the implementation of the sticky notes, so like the default team, and see if there's a better way to do it that did not hit that part. Because quite often we'll build stuff, release it, and then not really track if it actually had the impact we want.
So steps we're going to do is give a default, right? Give a default theme.
Yeah.
Or
give default theme and like build up the does.
Yeah, and then you can come up with different questions within these steps, like for example, like what is the most commonly picked theme? And maybe you make that the default. Or are there certain themes people always look at and want to preview before they make their selection?
So this would be is you print it up, it's on the wall. It's going to be like your sort of mini growth hack, right? Which is for 2 weeks. You may want to work towards a bigger initiative in the meantime after you do the first one. But these things, if you start doing these things every couple of weeks, after a quarter, things are piled up on different tests. Some might work, some may not. But after you do these small wins, things start to change. You start learning more. The whole goal is you start learning a lot faster. As you work towards bigger. You might also go towards other the personality test where you can do a lot bigger project. But in the meantime, you can do these simple action plans of some of the more low effort ones that you try out. So.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other ideas of like questions that Roshana should be thinking about and asking users as she goes through and does this test? Like, like is selecting a default mood actually going to decrease retention because people don't know how to select a theme because they don't have to do it in the onboarding anymore? Might happen. So like you could have this like the opposite of successful. and actually
Assumptions, right?
detrimental.
Those are
Yeah.
assumptions here.
So yeah, those are different assumptions, questions to be looking for, like more code doesn't always equal more successful.
Right? If we don't select a theme, what are they less likely to?
Yeah, or you could do like personas up and be like, well, this type of my primary audience, I think, is this type of user, and this is the type of theme they might actually like. But you might discover that you actually have a different type of user and they like a different type of theme.
That's interesting, right, guys? So if they give us a default theme as to see how it works, after a month, the prompt is, do you want to upgrade to a different theme? I'm curious now, would they be less likely to want to upgrade them, right? Or not? That's the question you find. Like you might increase this. Like, great, I increased it from 20% to 32%, but I actually got less sales, right? That might be like the outcome you also might get. So always these things. The whole idea is like start learning what's happening, and maybe then that part's like, hey, it's better engagement. I can understand there's different themes and stuff that they want to do, right? So. One thing I actually want to ask you guys was, on beginning, were you inclined to want to buy a theme off the first part, or is it you're like, no, default free theme, I want to know the value first, and then next month I might be more inclined to buy it.
So who only got free themes?
Everybody? Were you all interested in like exploring the premium ones and like I'll upgrade at this moment, or you're more of like I need to know more?
We looked at it, we were doing the onboarding, and we like got the payment screen that really like laid out all the benefits of paying, but we still went back. But just because for this experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to that point. I was just like, I'm cheap.
Yeah.
Why it's relatively inexpensive though, so it doesn't take a time. So yeah.
And how long was the trial?
It was just 7 days.
Oh, okay.
So like the idea was that like, because there's a few extra, like all the themes are like the main point of premium, but then there's also things like automatic backup. So I wanted someone to be able to like, pick one theme you really wanted that wasn't in the free ones, and also try like the other features of it. And like for even though the trial is 7 days, like they would get to keep that theme for the whole month.
I did not associate being with but then
also to add to that, I mean, just like making sure that that pre-built data is something that ideal person would relate to, not showing them like previous days that would be happening, like what their lifestyle is.
So I also want to make a pre-question, sort of meaning what their interests are.
Yeah.
Hello there, that there's
Yeah, or just making sure that default covers the majority of user bases.
Also, kind of nice to know that you can put in more than one thing in a day. Kind of like at first I thought it was like, this is just your overall thing.
See, and that's so interesting because I never realized that.
It's like super cool because it like plays the colors on top of it.
Yeah, so like if you had like to have the themes like pre-filled out when the first user got there, because like if you enter 2 moods in a day, it like peppers the colors in so that they're both in there.
Yeah.
So you could have like a couple days like that, and then in like it shows in the calendar and the entries, it could show like one day where they had like maybe the day started off terrible and they ended up great, so they had that possibility.
Yeah. Awesome stuff that the preview to them is that.
So ideally, actually, next step would be as a designer take this back. You'd actually flesh out a design onboarding flow with this new action plan. And then they basically then test it with users or start with development happening. That'd be like the next step to happen after the fact.
Yeah, so like the workshop we went through is just one workshop. Like at Vendasta, I actually have like each of these cards on here is an exercise, and then together they make up a workshop. And I have like many activities that I kind of like pull one for each category to make up a workshop. So like just for example, as part of this deliver phase, one activity we could do is we could do like a storyboarding where we actually draw out all the screens together on a whiteboard and figure out the details. Or we could do like Michael described where everyone kind of parts and then the designer goes and like gets feedback from different people and iterate.
Awesome, thanks guys. Hey, any questions at all for Hannah here? Any more feedback you want to give her? Feel free to. Thanks so much for coming today, guys, and giving feedback and being part of it. And and up here seeing feedback. Without that, it wouldn't have been great. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for also bearing with us with me being the timekeeper,
Timeline.
because we thought we weren't going to finish all the activities, but like we even have extra time for questions now. So do you guys have any questions?
Yeah.
So like, I would say if we were to bring this back into our own teams, what do you think the biggest like pitfalls that usually people fall into with this? I think like with your experience with design, like where do people usually fail? It's like one thing to have process and bring it and do it, but it's like, where do people fail?
I think that the hardest thing is like every company has that person that wants to like take over the meeting and do all the talking. You have to like all these exercises are designed to do them silently and like somewhat anonymously with like the dot voting and putting up sticky notes so that everyone has an equal voice. So like I did a workshop, for example, and one of the quiet developers that hardly ever talked, like actually came up with some of the best ideas for the group, but he just didn't normally like have the opportunity to share them. So just like making sure you keep on time and make sure you have that person who's like the facilitator to make sure people like are quietly doing the activities and no one's taking over the meeting.
Couple things there. So I actually want to add one point on that. So that's one thing is allowing people to write down their thoughts and then express them afterwards. That definitely distracts some people. Like I've been there too, is always when people in a room that want to take over and give their thoughts. That's how they like communicate, right? But there's so many people that just need to write down that's now like their voice. So it just like removes like the hippo effect that often happens in a brainstorm like session. And so we definitely encourage that. So together, it's called together, but like alone as well at the same time. Christian?
Yeah, I think tips of getting honest feedback from users, like as a developer, like I'm working on this, I feel like they're going to honest feedback for us.
Right. Yeah, you could put in like a feedback widget or something like right in your software. I typically in those discussions though, when you're talking to customers, like always start it with like, I want you to find problems because it's opportunities to improve the app. Like I hope Roshana took this away as like, we're not criticizing your product, we're giving you ideas, like all the sticky notes from the beginning. You can have that list afterwards as like a place to start to come up with more ideas. The other thing, like when you user test and stuff, like I always started off by like, I'm looking for feedback or I didn't design this. So like, don't be afraid to tell me negative stuff too.
Yeah, another thing I've seen happen before actually is they'll do the user testing portion beforehand. And it's different, so you're not even there, and they'll conduct 5 user tests, either virtually or in person, and they'll sort of collect that feedback. And the first part is sort of going through that feedback they've got, and then they do the whole idea that would be like today. Anything else?
How do you try to like eliminate bias during this? Like, we all kind of have like a instinct of how do we make it so we're not just wasting everybody's time?
That's why like dot voting really helps with that. It's like you may have that bias, but you only have one dot, right? Like other people will have other dots too. So overall, it's gonna sort of like your dot may help people just go that direction too. But at the end of the day, the whole goal of the dot voting is that everyone collectively can sort of decide which is the biggest thing to work on. And that's why we have several ideas. Like this one, that's why we want two weeks or else less, is that if it doesn't work, we don't want to go on for months. We want to find out whether we're in the right direction or not within a matter of 2 weeks. If not, let's stop that and try out the next idea that was dot voted on. So this eliminates that whole idea of like bias and like this is the best idea when it might not be.
And the other thing, like everyone equal opportunity to talk, like if Roshana would have got up here at the beginning and was like, I think we should all improve the onboarding, like that would have swayed you guys a lot. And also getting like real users and bringing them in, like sometimes if you have people that you know are gonna just like talk a lot in the meeting, or if you know you don't actually want like real customers in the meeting and seeing all the pain points from other customers, you can like invite them in and give them like 10 minutes to just tell you like any of their pain points and like, or just like how do you use the product, or like what is your workflow in your day, regardless of if it's in our software or not. Like just like having conversations with people is a good way to get that. Like I'm not actually a real user of the software feedback.
And also really cool, actually, like a side note, I use this exact same workshop to improve a company meeting that's a team held. So it wasn't just used for software and development, it was used to improve processes within the company. We had a team meeting every week, and what is going longer at certain times, found out, and we actually had everybody in the company involved and give feedback. And it resulted in changing that whole meeting after the fact, from running a simple hour and a half of a workshop. So it's good not just for your products and applications, but also good to improve meetings and other things in your life as well. Cool, I think we're almost up.
But you to do this process at Vendasta, what is the makeup of the meeting? Is it like all the design team or design developers, business people?
Typically, yeah, good question. Typically, you want only one designer and a developer. You want one sort of from each facet. So you have a developer, a designer, PM. You might have a stakeholder. It could be
Marketing,
an executive person. Could be from marketing. Could be a sales guy. You want different like perspectives. The whole idea is I want different perspectives, not just like design perspective. I want the business perspective. I want the customer perspective. I want marketing, I want sales in there as well. So you want just as many different people as possible, but you do need the one key person to make like the final call.
Yeah, like typically if I'm running this workshop, I don't contribute my own ideas to it. I'm more just facilitating to make sure it goes smoothly, kind of like we did today.
Yep. So the goal is you guys to bring this back to your teams. Hopefully you guys can do that. So, thanks again.
I didn't think, I guess we have our efforts.